This movie may shatter your perception of marriage and love. It will give you a whole new way of thinking. This youthful college girl falls in love with a much older professor. They got married in the middle of their campus days, although one of them is lecturing and the other is listening. But to the onlooker they were a match made in heaven. One has an enviable figure in face. One is a highly educated professor. This marriage is called the best of the best, but only Anna herself understands. Behind this seemingly beautiful marriage lies endless bitterness and torment. When they first got married, they made a seemingly romantic but ridiculous agreement. The man is responsible for earning money to support the family. The woman only had to take care of the housework. Anna was like a canary in a cage, but the reality was so cruel. Alexander's salary as a professor was pitiful. Even if he worked hard at his part-time job, he couldn't even make enough money to support his family. His paycheck leaves little for the monthly house payment. They were struggling to make ends meet. That day Anna stepped into the supermarket. She was as careful as ever. She picked out a total of $250 worth of groceries, but the moment she paid for them, the cashier told her she had to pay $271. Anna's hand clutched a mere $250 in his pocket. She couldn't afford a penny more. The stares of the people in line behind her were like sharp needles in her back. Anna's face instantly turned red, but she was still trying to maintain her dignity. But the gap of only $21 was like an unbridgeable gap. She had no choice but to return her favorite cupcakes. The cashier looked at Anna with disdain and told her in a cold tone to put the cake back where it belonged. Anna had no choice but to pick up the cake and walk to the far shelf. She walked out of the supermarket in a state of despair. She could never have imagined that the gears of fate would begin to turn. Just when she was full of sorrow, a luxury car sped by and splashed her with dirty water. It made her look even more wretched. The owner of the car rushed out and apologized. He promised to pay for Anna's clothes, but he didn't have any cash on him at the moment. He asked Anna to get in the car and go with him to get the money, but Anna's pent-up emotions came out like a flood. She didn't accept the car owner's apology. She blamed the owner of the car for all the grievances she had suffered in the supermarket and the misery of living on a shoestring. She shouted at the top of her lungs without any regard for her image. When she was done, Anna turned around and left, leaving the owner of the car stunned and frozen in place. Neither of them could have imagined their destinies were about to be turned upside down by each other's presence. Anna had just returned home. She read in the newspaper about the earthquake in her hometown. In the face of his wife's anxiety, Alexander did not care about his wife's anxiety. He didn't care if his mother-in-law lived or died. All he cared about was the house, because Alexander had forgotten to pay the mortgage on time. The bank was about to foreclose on their house. It was his own carelessness, but he's so arrogant as to blame Anna for everything. In the face of her husband's cruelty, Anna felt disheartened. She couldn't find any warmth or hope in her husband. She was ashamed of herself for not being able to support the family. Tears came to her eyes. Seeing her crying, the husband realized that he had gone too far. He kissed his wife on the cheek. You think he's trying to comfort her, but in fact he was just trying to satisfy his own desires. That day Alexander entrusted Anna with an important task, asked her to cover for him at a party the bank was hosting. Alexander had worked as a translator for the bank a few times. That's why the organizers of the party asked him to translate again. Alexander was convinced that if he could seize this rare opportunity to make a good relationship with the bank's executives, the bank was likely to extend their repayment period. That's why he decided to send his beautiful wife to the party in his place. Anna agreed with her husband for the sake of the family. Then she went to the bank building alone. Today her task was to translate for the chairman of the committee. She thought to herself that if there was a suitable opportunity she must ask the senior management to forgive their repayment time. This would be a great contribution to the family. The moment Anna saw the committee chairman with her own eyes, she was dumbfounded on the spot. The chairman of the committee was the owner of the car she scolded yesterday. Anna stood there with her mind in turmoil. She was filled with remorse and embarrassment for her behavior yesterday, but for the sake of her beloved husband and family, she tried to calm herself down. The man's name was Sergey, and his eyes were instantly fixed on Anna.